Welcome back. State Senator Steve Glazier is a Democrat who represents Contra Costa and Alameda counties in the San Francisco Bay Area. He's chair of the Senate Business and Economic Development Committee and served as a senior advisor to former Governor Jerry Brown. So, Senator, first of all, it's nice to see you.
Great to be a part of your show. Thank you.
So you have said the governor needs to forget the dimmer switch he keeps talking about and needs to close the state back down now. Why?
Well, let me first say that the governor's shown great leadership on this issue from the beginning. First state in the country to have a shelter in place. He's brought online a number of important programs to help people cope and get through it. So there's a lot of good things that have happened under his leadership. But I do think that the state has reopened too quickly. And a part of that is not having adequate testing and not having an adequate track and trace system so that if someone's infected, we can find it out quickly and we can get them quarantined and we can find out all the people that they've interacted with so that they can be quarantined. That's the only way to bend the curve down, is to have adequate testing and tracing. We don't have it back then when we opened, and we don't have it now.
So what did the governor do wrong?
Well, as the governor would say, all he has done is provided guidelines for reopening. Those choices have been made by the counties. And I think at some level that's true. But on the other hand, he's provided that doorway for the counties to loosen their restrictions. And what the governor would also say is that whatever we say as politicians, ultimately it's about whether the public's going to do what's necessary, face masking, social distancing, sheltering in place. And that obviously that has broken down, that the guidance from the state, the actions from the county, and our personal behavior has led to this infection spike, which we're experiencing right now.
Do you think a second stay-at-home order will have the same impact as the first?
Well, I hope that it will, because we do need to get into a situation where we have to restrain the spread of the virus, and that's only going to come by having people be much more vigilant in how they go about their life. That means a stronger shelter in place. That means a lot of the openings have to become closings again. And we have to have a more robust testing system and tracking and trace. Those things have to be in place, or it is going to be deja vu all over again. We're going to spike, plateau, spike again, plateau. That's the cycle we're going to be in. Nothing will change that unless our behavior changes. So I hope people will listen when we do close up, as I think we need to do right away.
But has the leadership at the state, the county, and city level, do they face a credibility problem with the public?
I do think that they put their credibility at risk, because people will say, hey, I thought we were doing it all right, and now we're back doing the same thing again. And there would be a lot of confusion about that. And I think that we have contributed to that confusion. And I think that we have to own up to that.
How so?
Well, I think we have to be honest about our situation, and we have to have clear metrics about why we're taking the actions that we are taking. Look, I don't think it makes any sense in Los Angeles for the assertion to be, hey, folks, we've got to do a better job of sheltering in place or else these numbers are going to keep going up. The fact of the matter is these numbers today are the results of decisions that weren't made 3 or 4 weeks ago. So nothing we do at this moment is going to change the trajectory of infections and hospitalizations for 3 or 4 weeks. That is the nature of this virus. It is a trajectory that we cannot change. So we have to be ahead of the curve. We have to be thinking around the corner before we get to that corner. And that means that we have to take the actions right now. It's not going to affect the infection rate tomorrow or next week, but it will affect the infection rate in August and beyond, and give us the chance to open up more safely so we can get back to our normal lives.
Well, listen, there are people watching this that are saying, look, I'm losing my job. I'm losing my business. We can't shut down again. You simply need to enforce the rules we already have.
No, there's not a better way. If you look at how states and countries around the world have dealt with this, it's clear that you have to get in front of this virus, and that means that you got to shut it down. And if you got to have a citizenry that's going to listen, that's going to shelter in place. You're going to have you have to have the infrastructure to test, to track, and to trace, to quarantine, to care for people, certainly. But we have a lot of pain that we've experienced, and a lot more pain going forward. But listen, the economy is never going to go back unless we can take care of the health and safety issues of this virus. So as much as we want to reopen things, get people back to work, help those small business people and others who are suffering with the shutdown, there is no way around the fact that nothing good will happen until we can cut off the life of this virus.
Let me have you weigh in on the decision by most school districts not to have in-person instruction this fall. I read where most of them in your area are also going to be remote learning only.
Well, look, the governor's directive last week that says no more restaurant dining. Indoor spaces are bad for people. Why would we think that indoor spaces for students in classrooms would be safe? So I do support the decision to have remote learning. But let's be clear about that. It is a substandard education system. This is not good for our kids. And having a teacher in a classroom right there with students is the better way. And so going to remote learning, yeah, there's all kinds of inequities in that it's going to hurt a generation of students if it continues for very long. It's substandard, but I don't see another alternative. If it's about keeping people healthy and safe, and certainly our kids, I don't think you want them in a classroom in a closed-door space where they can get infected and bring it home to their parents and their grandparents. And that's a serious, serious problem.
State Senator Steve Glazier of Contra Costa County in the Bay Area, thank you very much for joining us, and stay safe.
Well, it's been 34 years since I was last on your show, and it's nice to be back, although I'd rather have more hair, but nice to see you.
It's nice to see you again. Thanks very much. Next up, LA Unified's teacher union on what they believe it will take to get students back to class when we return.